Well, hey everybody, it's Steve at 1000 Year Home. So I've gotten multiple requests of people asking me to do a 2-year review on this foil wrap that I put inside my shipping container. And then I put mineral wool over the top of it, and then 5/8 inch drywall. Just an update. How's it doing? How's it holding up? Well, I'm going to start out here by saying amazing, right? Just amazing. But we'll take a look at a few things. Now, I went all crazy on this foil wrap, and I used it on top of a pop-up camper exposed externally. Here's an old roll, a roll of it, a section of a roll that I've also used externally outside. This is 2 years open exposure, but not necessarily in full UV. So the stuff I used to wrap around my pop-up camper, and I lived in a pop-up camper for 18 months. At the end of the 18 months, it was tired out. It was not falling apart in bits and pieces, but it was worn out. It was delicate. It was easy to damage. It was still giving me the foil resistance inside of the pop-up camper, which allowed me to AC it and heat it. Listen, living in a canvas pop-up camper in Central Texas, we get down to 20 degrees. We got down to 10, a little cold, but I did fine with a little tiny space heater, not a flame electric one, right? You don't want to die. But look, 2 years this stuff's been sitting out here in my horse trailer. How's it holding up? Let's rotate and see. Now, I'm going to complain a little bit because I assume that this foil was aluminum. And I might have missed, I think I said as much in many of my videos. It said foil wrapped, and I assumed it was aluminum. And it could be a sputter coat of aluminum on the plastic. So this part was sticking out for 2 years, exposed to the elements in this horse trailer. Plus, I've used it like on the garden, and I've used it in different places. So is it holding up to the UV? I don't know. It's getting a little battered. So if you use it outside, it's not going to be a forever product. All right, so there we go. So that's I wouldn't even call that bad. That's an improper use of the material, right? Improper use of the material. So, but you could still see I've still got the bubbles in there for the insulation. It's just beginning to break down the foil. And just a spool thing stuck in a Connex with all kinds of wind and rain and sun hitting it. All right, let's take a look at some of the other stuff. All right, well, there was a pop-up camper that I lived in for 18 months. It had canvas that came out that side and I wrapped it, and it did a pretty good job. I have not used it subsequently. I am living in the shipping containers. They're over yonder in the woods there, but it did okay on that. This stuff's not horrible expensive, right? So put in a few 4-foot wide layers of the canvas, and then I used real aluminum foil tape. I know it was aluminum foil tape along the seams. Really made a difference for my ability to live in a pop-up camper for 18 months. Summered and wintered it. It was hard, but I'm a Spartan man. You couldn't very easily do a children and whatnot in there, but I did just fine. Let's take a look at that aluminum tape if I can find some. So between each 4-foot section, which I overlapped a little bit, I've chased it with this foil tape. This foil tape is foil. It is aluminum foil with a sticky back, and it does survive UV. It is tough. So that stuff is way tougher than the bubble wrap, but the bubble wrap is no slouch either. All right, I'm back inside my shipping container home with my, the insulation, with the drywall, with the solution. I'm standing on a chair because I want to show you one little spot. Rotate. All right, so here I've got in microcosm, right, the design. There's the drywall, right, 5/8 inch. There's the mineral wool, and mineral wool is fire resistant. I mean, it's spun stone. Insects don't like it, so you don't have termites. It abrades their skin. They fall apart crawling around in it, and mice and vermin don't eat it and can't use it. Also, it's hydrophobic, which means it rejects moisture. so I don't have a problem. So right here, though, is foil that's been on this shipping container, not 2 years, 3 years. And unlike the stuff you saw that was UV exposed and to the wind and the rain, this stuff's as new as the day I put it. The real problem with shipping containers is shipping container moisture. All right, yeah, and I'm not going to get way into that. Y'all take a read on that yourselves. Shipping container rain, shipping container moisture. But basically, these black boxes, right, absorb the solar and lunar face, right, the black body of space, and they heat and cool faster than your moisture points, and dew will condense on the roof and drop on your stuff. So does that happen inside of this since I've gotten the drywall in here? Well, no, it doesn't. But if you ran a real moist environment, let's say I did steamy showers in here all the time, and let's say I'd use kerosene heat, which would be extremely dangerous, and that's a big no. But if you use a flame heat, that generates moisture. That would cause problem. If there are a lot of kids, if I was trying to raise, I don't know, a hydroponic grow dope in here or something, right? Then I could expect that moisture would get through, possibly. So let's take a look here and so there's my foil. What I'm going to do is this is undisturbed foil, and see it's behind the studs, totally sealed. I'm going to cut it open, make a little window. So we're going to make a window together. And we're going to check and see if the shipping container is dry, or if we see moisture that has run down or anything else. So, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to, I can feel the cold air blowing from behind this, because it's colder outside than it is. Inside, I'm at least 40 degrees, well, 30 degrees warmer. So it's probably 62 out there. No, I'm running 80 something in here. Wow, big deal. Oh my gosh, I am so surprised. All right, so there would be an opportunity because there's a big thermal difference, right? So let me feel, dry as dry can be. Dry as dry could be. So no container rain, no problem. I'm not going to keep going. I'm going to get my aluminum tape and I'm going to tape that back up. You can see it puffed out with the breeze. I'm going to show you one more thing about my design that makes it superior. So specifically, where is the air coming that's drawing the moisture out of this house? Well, I'll show you the design. I'm getting ready to do my laundry, and look at these guys come in. This big boy, he pretends he doesn't like me. He pretends I'm all this and that, but then he lets me pick him up and carry him around. He'll fight me too in a minute. Come on out, guys. Come on out. Come on out. Pardon my laundry, everybody. I'm getting ready to go to town. Come on, y'all. That was fun, though. All right, I'm outside of my shipping container home now. And I'm showing you what I did for ventilation to get all that moisture out of that house, right? And when I cut that, I was even surprised that there's a lot of ventilation was blowing around that wall. Well, what I did in my design is when I put this post in, if you take a look above the post, there's a 6-inch gap between the roof and the insulation and the rest of the house. So there's the drywall, there's the mineral wool, there's a loose layer of the foil wrap, and then there's a few inches of airspace. You see that airspace right there? All right, that bit of airspace was what I felt. So that house isn't going to have a mold problem. Stuff's not going to build up in there because I have the ability to exit moisture. So eventually this will have a steel plate right over it with, and I'll put in screen and mesh. So it'll be mesh with some kind of facet so that it can breathe. So look at all that breathing I have there. And I'll show you something else that I did. Now, these aren't directly related to the foil, but I'm telling you, that house is cozy when it needs to be cozy, and it's cool when it needs to be cool, and it's fire resistant. It's everything you need to be. I'll put the links for the foil wrap. I bought it directly from the manufacturer. If you go to Home Depot or Lowe's, you'll find a little dusty roll of it popped up in a corner somewhere, not nearly enough to finish anything. Just buy it direct from the vendor like I do. It comes in big 4-foot sections and big cardboard boxes you can manage. It rolls out nicely, works well, right, in a shipping container because you're 8 foot by 4 foot. So, you know, it's easy to manage. All right, but I'm going to rotate here. All right, y'all, can you see that way up there? Those are your ventilation for your shipping containers, and you have 2 of them. And my opinion is never cover them up. So you got a front one, and then where the doors are, and then way in the back, you have a back one. And I don't think you should cut them out. I don't think you should cover them up. When I put adobe on this home, I'm going to put a pipe on that and run the pipe up in and cap it and make it look like a roof vent. Keep it like a roof vent. So now you see I have ventilation from here to there, and then I have the exit from the front. So did it work? Man, that's 3 years later, and that stuff was just as fine as could be. No moisture, no dripping, no nothing, dry. I'm going to get some of that foil tape and cut the little part I cut out, the inspection port. But there you see it. 2 years later for the whole container, but that front part I did right away, and it made a big difference. And no container rain. I've had container rain in both of these upon roll off when they first rolled off, so I couldn't store things in it until I did the insulation. If I'd leave it open during the day and close it at night and it was a humid day, it would condensate right in there. But it hasn't since. So anyway, there you go. The folks who were asking for a 2-year update on the foil wrap. Does it work? Yes. Don't email me. I don't want you to email. I'm terrible busy. So the idea of me opening up a dialogue with somebody about and hand holding a little bit, no, maybe eventually I'll do workshops. If, you know, once I'm not a professional builder. I am seriously a DIY builder doing my best out here. So I don't want to come with some kind of authoritative voice and tone to what I'm doing. I'm showing you what I'm doing. I'm documenting it for myself. I live in an area where there's not a lot of restrictions, and not the only inspection I need is on the septic. So, you know, I'm free to do things that you aren't maybe able to do. But this works really, really well, and I don't see any problem with it. And it totally licked container rain and totally makes the habitat absolutely manageable. The only last thing I need to do, since I raised mine 2 feet up, is I need to take care of the bottom. And I haven't done anything to that, not enough hours in the day. But tin would have worked, right? With, you know, ground contact 2x4s. I could have done that. I could have done hardy plank. I could have finished it mid-century modern, but I'm going to use adobe. And so I'm going to raise this up just a little bit one more time, put in permanent footings with attachments to the shipping container. So it's considered a permanent home at this point. And so I got work to do on that. But of all the stuff that I did that absolutely works, the laminate of the drywall, and use the thickest drywall you can. I turn my 2x4s that are supporting the drywall, those are flushed, so they're 1 inch thick against the wall on both sides. So I only use 3 inches of my total space. If I would have turned them long ways, I would have used 7 inches, right? 3.5 inch sticking out, and I would have lost 7 inches all the way around that. I wish I would have been more careful with the boxes that I put in, the conduit boxes, and I wish I would have measured them a little better. Some of them are deep, some of them are a little crooked. I'm going to have to fix all those, and I will. I'll make them all straight and flush and good, but that's going to be a pain in the neck. But the insulation, I'll put the links for it. I used mineral wool, not glass. Glass will get wet in a flood. Mineral wool will not. It's hydrophobic. And I used the foil wrap, and I used between each roll of foil, I taped it. And I'll find the old video of how I did the initial installation, and I'll put it up in the corner at the end of this thing, and you can watch it yourself. So anyway, that's Steve, 1,000 Year Homes. Thank you for following along. I appreciate it. For those of you who like, subscribe, I appreciate it. It is mighty lonely being off grid. Folks do come out. I'm just needy. I like to have people. So, but I like the idea of workshops. Maybe someday I'll do that. But in the absence of workshops, every like you give me makes me feel better, right? And I've almost got 1 million views, 958,000 views. So that it kind of helps me keep doing every day. But even if I didn't, and nobody viewed, I'd still be documenting my own work for my own self. I go back 2 years from now and I'll look at where I put those studs, and then I know exactly where to, do something else, a cabinet or hang a mirror or something, so very useful to document your own build journal. All right, like, subscribe, follow me along. Bye-bye.